Alright, welcome back everyone. Now I'm going to solve for the 2021 Maths, E-Maths paper 1. Mind that I'm doing this in 2021 itself, so the answer is not yet come out. So this is actually just a suggested answer on how you do the things. Okay, and if you feel that you are not so prepared to actually watch this video because you are actually sitting for this exam, then kindly do not watch this video. Okay, this is just to clarify for some questions that you might have. If you feel that you are anxious to actually see whether you're going to get correct or wrong, then I think it's better to just forget about this video. Okay, but yeah, if you are actually here just to learn about how to solve the question for the 2021, then you are in the right place. Alright, let's go. First question, Seema invests this amount, interest of 1.6% per year for 3 years. And then calculate the total value of her investment in the end of the 3 years. Okay, so this is just quite a simple interest rate. So I equals to P multiply R multiply by T. Okay, the principal is 2,500, the rate is 1.6%, and the years is 3. Okay, then you multiply all of this, you'll get 120. Okay, however, the question asks you for the total value of her investment. Okay, so meaning to say you need to add up the 2,500 totaling into $2,620. Yeah. Question 2. In the triangle AC, BC and everything, find out the length of AB. Okay, this is just a Pythagoras theorem. So it should be just 20.5 squared minus by 13.3 squared. And then you just root them all, and you'll get the answer to be 15.6. Okay, so it'll be very simple. Next, question 3. A car travels at an average speed of this amount of hours. Rounding these numbers into one significant figure. Well, in that case, the speed is 80 km per hour, and then the time is actually 3 hours only. Hence, the distance traveled, distance is actually speed multiplied by time. You'll get 240 km covered. Without doing any further calculation, explain why the actual distance traveled is greater than what you actually got here. Okay, so remember that this question here is about rounding. Okay, we actually round down both of the numbers, the speed and the time we actually rounded down. Okay, meaning to say that we got 240 because of the round down. Therefore, okay, simply said, the actual distance covered is to be higher than what we got on the part A. Okay, yeah, again the result is lower because that we actually round down the numbers from the previous part. Next, a bag contains the red, white and yellow, and then the red marble, the white marble, the probability is there. To get the yellow marble, you just take 1 minus by the probability of the rest of them. Okay, this is because that we only have 3 colors. Okay, and therefore if you want to get the last color, you just take 1 minus by all the probability that you got already, and the result is 0.32. Okay, 1 minus by the rest of the probability. Calculate the number of white marbles given that you have this amount of marbles in total. Okay, the white marbles there are the probability is 0.24. Okay, so you just need to take 0.24 multiplied by 175. Okay, this is also can be achieved by doing this. You just say that, okay, the number of white marbles is W and the total marbles is 175. So the probability of getting the white marble is this expression. Then equate it with the number of 0.24. Okay, and that way you get 0.24 multiplied by 175. Okay, yeah, the same result. Anyway, you'll get 42 of the white marbles. Next, question 5. Get the same denominator. Multiply the first one by 3. And then multiply the second one by 4. Okay, so then you got 9x minus 8x plus by 4. Well, that will be x plus 4 over 12. Wait a minute, I forgot to multiply the 8 and the 4. This one should be 32. Yeah. Okay, careless over there. Question 6. You have 5 integers. Okay, integers are whole number, by the way. The mean are 12. Is 12 actually. The median is 15 and the mode is 21. Okay, now we have 5 integers, meaning to say that the median is actually just a sole number that is exactly in the middle of the sequence. Okay, 15 is in the middle here. Now, next, I have the mode of 21, and 21 is greater than 15. So I'm very sure that 21 must be next to it. Now, the thing is that, is it only a single 21? Well, the question claims that the mode is 21, meaning to say that mode should be the most frequent number that actually exists in the sequence. Okay, therefore, it doesn't make sense to just put a single number of 21. You must at the very least put double of 21, like this. Alright? Now, the only thing that we are left with is actually the first two integers, and we also haven't used the fact that the mean is actually 12. Let's just say that the first two numbers are A and B. Okay? Now, the rule is that if you sum all of the number and divide by the total numbers, okay, we have 5 of them, right? Sum and then divide by 5, you should get the mean. I mean, mean is actually the average, right? You need to sum everything and divide by the frequency. Okay? So, I will get A plus B plus by, this is 57. Okay? And then cross multiply the 5 to the other side, you'll get 60. Move the 57, then you got 60 minus by 57. You get a 3. Now, A plus B is therefore must be some integers that sum up into 3 units. Okay? And it must be an integer. Now, to make it easy and you don't need to think too far, okay, these numbers can be 1 and 2. Okay, 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay? And this is actually, well, should be the good sequence that you can put down. Okay? Remember that sequence must be put from the lower number to the higher number. Okay? You cannot put 2 and 1, must be 1 and 2. Alright, next is question 7. Okay, the question here is about a volume of a cuboid. Okay, so the largest area is 150. Okay, let's just say that the area, okay, you know that a cuboid is made by length, width, and height. To get the volume, you need to multiply all of those. Okay, so length times width times height equals to 1200. Okay, the largest face is 150. Let's just say that length times width is 150. Okay, this is one of the area that is in the cuboid. Okay, yeah, so that's what we have so far. All of them must be integers, all the lengths, width, and height. Okay, that's what they meant by the dimensions to be integer values. Okay, so we have to find out the dimension of the cuboid. Okay, should we actually draw this? Okay, it's not a must, okay, but maybe just for explanation sake, I'll just draw this so you can have a good reference. And I don't think that in the exam you should draw this unless you have actually you have a quick hand to actually draw everything. Alright, so the length is here, the width is here, and the height is there. Okay, well, I think I draw it a little bit too big, but I mean a little bit too high. Anyway, let's forget about it. This is just some illustration. So the length times by the width is 150. Interestingly, right, if you want to find the height, okay, basically what you need to do is just take the volume divided by the base area. Okay, you'll get the height. The volume is 1200, and since 150 is our base area, therefore the height is actually here, 8 units. Okay, so the height is actually 8 units. Okay, that's cool. But we must make sure that, okay, I mean we need to find out the length and the width. And don't forget that length times width is 150, and if you multiply all of them, you should get 1200. Okay, I think for this question we can do some guess and check. Okay, length, width, and height. Okay, now the height is 8, of course we cannot do anything much about it. Okay, the thing is about the length and the width. So what can we actually do? Let's look for the length and the width first. 150 here. Okay, I want to break this down using the prime number factorization. Okay, let me get my calculator. Okay, so 150 is 2 times 3 times 5 square. Okay, I need to put it a little bit down here, with more space. Alright, then 1200. Okay, I don't know whether I actually gonna need to use this, but you know, might as well. Okay, so I got 2 power of 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5 square. Okay, alright. Now, the idea here is that the volume here is supposed to be 1200. Okay, the height is actually 8, and 8 is actually also a 2 power of 3. Okay, I can just put 2 power of 3 like this. Okay, now I want you all to focus on this number here. Okay, length and the width and the height are actually obtained by using some of the integers that you see over here. Okay, for example, I see the height is 2 power of 3. This is obtained from the 2 power of 4. Okay, 2 power of 4, I split them into 2 power of 3 times 2. And then the 2 power of 3 is actually owned by the height. Meaning to say that the length and the width is actually the 2 times 3 times 5 square. Okay, and yeah, we just need to actually share this correctly. Okay, such that the length and the width will result in this number. Okay, the 150 lah. Okay, the same number. Alright, so for example, okay, just for example, and I think this is the wrong answer, you can say that the length is 2 units, okay, for example, and then the width is 3 times by 5 square. Okay, because again, look at this, is a 2, okay, maybe I use a different color. Look at this, you have 2, 3, 5 square. Okay, I need to use length and width using this number. Okay, length is 2, and therefore the width will be 3 times 5 square, and that will be 75. Okay, now this is just the first guess. And I'm certain this is actually wrong. Okay, you can try, you take 2 multiplied by 75 multiplied by 2 power of 3. The answer is correct, 1200. Okay, and wait a minute, if I actually take this and then I take the length times by the width, I will get 2 times 75, which is 150. Okay, the length and the width must multiply into 150 after all. Okay, this actually match. But the problem here is that, yeah, the problem here is that the length and the width is not the largest surface area. Okay, yeah, this is actually quite a difficult question. They claim that the largest surface area must be 150. Okay, but if I take the width multiplied by the height, I will end up with 75 multiplied by 8, and that is actually very large. You see, if I do that here, oopsie, I multiply these two together, that will give you 600. And therefore the 160 is actually not the largest surface area, and therefore this combination is wrong. Okay? Yeah, so I will try another number, not 2 and 75. Let's try, okay, let's share the 5. So 2 times 5, 10, and then 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay, again, I use the numbers here that I circled in the green color. Okay, I use 2 times 5 for the length, and then 3 times 5 for the width. Okay, I'll get 150. And let's see what will happen to the width times by height. Okay, that will be 15 multiplied by 8. And the surface area width and height is actually 120. This is good. 120 is not larger than 150. Okay, and therefore the largest surface area is still about wait, let me think for a bit. Yeah, actually correct. Yeah, width times height is 120, and also length times by height is actually 10 multiplied by 8, 80. Okay, and that is actually smaller than 150. So this combination works perfectly. Hence, I can say that the length is 10, the width is 15, and the height is actually 8. Okay, this question for a 2 marks is kind of unfair. Okay, I think it's very difficult to get the 2 marks with this extra effort. Okay, so I think for this question, if you didn't solve it correctly, it's quite okay lah. Yeah, it requires quite a lot of effort for 2 marks only. Next, question 8. In 2000, the number of international visitors is this, nearest 10,000. Okay, by 2018, the number increased by that. Okay, so increased by this, meaning to say, right, my number, this 7,690,000, I need to multiply this by 240.6%. Okay, now be careful here, and I suppose that a lot of people will be careless here. They multiply by 140.6. That is wrong. Okay, if you have increased by this amount, therefore you actually take 100 plus by that percentage of increase. Okay, you should have added another 100 in front. Okay, You press this in calculator, you got 18,502,140, 18 million. Okay, and correct this to the nearest 10,000. Okay, and that will be 18,500. Yeah. Okay, although, well, the question didn't really actually say that we need to correct this to the nearest 10,000 lah. Okay, because yeah, they only say that it is corrected over here. They don't request that you need to correct it. So I think either you leave it like this answer or this answer, but tell them that this one is corrected. Okay, yeah, to nearest 10,000s. Okay, yeah, just an extra explanation lah. Hopefully both of them are acceptable, because they don't really say whether we need to correct them or not. Alright, next question. Yeah, this one is quite simple. You got 6x equals negative 15, and then x equals to negative 2.5. Yeah, no need to write down lah. And then next one, 8a minus 5b minus by 6a minus by 9b. So then I got 2a minus 14b. Yeah, that should be good. Next, the table shows the group of students that travel to school. A pie chart is to be drawn from this information. Okay, find out the angle for each of them. Okay, the angle, huh? The total all of them, it will be 54. Okay, so to get the walking, we take 24 divided by 54 times by 360 degree. Key this in calculator, you got 160 degree. For the bus, you do the same thing. You'll get 140 degree. And the last one, okay, to make it simple, is just 360 minus by the rest of them. Okay, that will be 60 degree. Yeah, should be quite easy. Next, question 11. In a regular polygon, the ratio of the interior and exterior is this. Okay, let's just say that the exterior angle is x degree. The interior will be 180 minus x. Okay, therefore 180 minus x divided by x equals 7/1. Cross multiply this. Okay, and then collect all the x together, and then divide by 8. You'll get 25, I guess. Okay, x is therefore the exterior angle, 25 degree. Okay, to find out the number of the sides of the polygon, you just need to take 360 degree. Oh wait, I think I actually miscalculate this. Yeah, sorry, I pressed wrongly in the calculator. 180 divided by 8 is actually 22.5 degree. Okay, yeah. Because if I actually divide 360 by 25, right, I will get decimal, and therefore the number of the sides will be decimal, which doesn't make sense. Okay, so yeah, I got this, which is 16. Okay, nice. Okay, next. The information below is shown in the diagram. Describe the element of set of A. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Nothing so particularly interesting here. It's not prime number, it's mix of them. All of them are integers, and the highest is 12. Okay, therefore set of A are actually factors of 12. Okay, all of them are actually can divide 12. So next, list the element contained in the set of A complement intersect with B complement. Okay, now I have a method in doing this kind of question. Okay, by drawing a correct shaded part. Okay, now let's see. The question asks you for the A complement and B complement. I will shade the A complement in the picture here. Okay, using the right color, I just put vertically. Of course, don't use a pen over here lah. Use pencil in your exam. Okay, A complement. Everything in the A complement shaded vertically. Now I want the B complement. I will shade them horizontally. Done. Okay, now the question says to intersect them. Okay, the symbol here is the intersection, meaning to say after I shade everything horizontal and vertically, right, I need to look for the area that they share in common. Okay, intersection is actually looking for the common area, and those are actually outside of the circles. Okay, those numbers are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14. Alright, Okay, yeah, so I'll get rid of this because I need it for the next part. Question C. Find the number of elements in A intersect B complement union with A complement intersect with B. Now, A intersect B complement. Okay, this is actually quite a popular area. Okay, it's actually the crescent moon of A. Okay, if you have been practicing quite a lot, is those area. But if you haven't, okay, let's just say lah, I want A intersect B complement. So I take the A like this, and then I'll take the B complement. So it will shade horizontally, like this. And you see that the area that is actually crisscross, okay, is actually the crescent moon of A. Okay, hence those are the area that they actually meant over here. Alright, likewise for the A complement intersect B, is the same locations, okay, on the other part, crescent moon of B. Hence the number of elements, okay, the number of elements, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There are 6 elements inside them. Question 13. The graph shows the information about the age of resident population of Singapore in 2007 and 2017. Estimate the number of people in 2017 that were aged from 60 to 69. Okay, 2017 is the shaded one. Okay, so it's over here. Just need to bring it down over here. Yeah, the population is in 10,000s. I guess this is actually 4. So I think it's around somewhere close to 5 is like 46,000 or 47,000. Okay, let's just say it's 47,000. No, yeah, correct. Wait a minute, this is in 10,000s, right? Wait, I read it wrongly. It's 100,000s. Okay, I need to wear new specs, I guess. Yes, anyways, it's actually 466,000. Okay, in 100,000s. Okay, I said 10,000 just now, wrong. Yeah. Anyway, what feature of the graph supports the fact that the birth rate has fallen in Singapore between 2007 to 2017? The birth rate. Okay, birth rate is actually referring to young people. Okay, between the age of 0 to 9 years old. Okay, so I think we can comment of the fall in the birth rate in 2017 by just commenting that the bar graph here is actually lower. Okay, the 2017, the black color is actually lower than the white color. Okay, 0 to 9 years old is actually lower population in 2017 compared to 2007. Okay, so yeah, that's the birth rate. Explain what the graph shows about the change in the mean age of the resident population of Singapore in 2007 and 2017. Justify your answer in the reference to the graph. What the graph shows about the change in the mean age. Okay, so we are comparing the mean age between the 2007 and 2017. You need to comment on the change of the mean of the resident. Okay, let's see here. I think for 2017, right, it's actually concentrated over here. Okay, you can see that it's the highest population in 2017. 2017 has, okay, you can actually also consider this lah. Okay, this one also actually. Let's just say the 4 of them. Okay, let's take a look at the 4 highest bar graph for 2017. Alright, and then I will use the green color for the 2007. The highest here, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, yeah. I can't say that, well, this actually means that the mean is actually around there. Okay, I'm just looking for the highest amount. Okay, it's actually concentrated somewhere around this area. Okay, so what can I actually compare between these two? Alright, the question asks you about the change in the mean age. Okay, the change in the mean age. So whether it has increased or it has decreased between 2007 and 2017. So I can see that the 2007, right, the highest bar are actually a little bit lower. You can see that 10 to 19 years old are actually quite a lot, 500,000 plus. Okay, and that is actually the third highest bar graph. Okay, the third highest bar graph for 2007. Alright, So I think that the mean of 2007 is actually lower compared to 2017. You can see that the mean age of 2017 are actually somewhere in 50 to 59, 40 to 49. Is the highest number is actually around there. Meaning to say that the mean will be actually higher compared to the green color. The red one is higher mean compared to the green. 2017 mean age has increased compared to 2007. Okay? Yeah, I think that's all that you need to explain to them. Alright, next question. In the diagram, you have, well, ABC, this angle, and ADE, this angle. They are all the same. Okay, so show that the two triangles are similar. Okay, ABC and ADE have a common angle here. Let's call it X. And both of them actually have a common angle A also. Okay, so you are going to use the AA property. Tell them that the angle ABC equals to the angle ADE. And then the angle A, you can say it as angle BAC equals to the angle of DAE. Yeah, please be careful about the sequence of the alphabet that you mentioned. Okay, so by AA property, they are actually similar. Okay, or AA test, whichever you want to call it. Okay, then the next one. Okay, they're giving you a lot of numbers here. So first is that AC is 12, AB is 10, AE is 9, so this is 9 and 1 then. CD is 4.5, or show that CD is 4.5. You need to show them. Okay, so we want CD. Okay, we need to find out these things. Okay, we have the two triangles already, right? What I'm going to compare. Well, since we have AC to be 12 cm, we'll get CD if we are able to obtain AD. Okay, so meaning to say that our main target is to get AD. Alright, so let's use the similar property. AD over AB. Okay, they are actually similar in between the two triangle, equals to, I can use another length, and looking at this, we have AE, right? Okay, let's use AE. And then the parts that are similar to it is AC. Okay, yeah, put down already. Okay, so AD is what we need. We have AB, which is 10 cm. We have AE, 9 cm. And we have AC, which is 12 cm. Alright, so you take cross multiply, then you'll get the value of AD to be 7.5 cm. Okay, therefore the length of CD is 12 minus by 7.5. You got 4.5. Next question. Well, this is easy. I just expand. Done. Next one, given that this, find the value of P. Okay, this is actually part of the answer from A. I'll just duplicate here. Like this. Okay, then I'll do comparison. This and that, they are supposed to be the same. 12px equals negative 36x. Okay, why are they supposed to the same? Well, I mean there is an equal sign, and both of them actually is the one that has x. Okay, the only one that has x. So I can compare them like this. 2p equals of negative 36, and then p equals negative 18. Oh wait, I forgot to put the 12, my bad. Negative 3, okay? And then, well, p is negative 3 then. That's it, good enough, I guess. Alright, next is question 16. The formula of this can be used to calculate the distance traveled by a cyclist. Find the value of t when s is 14. So I got 14 equals 3.5, bracket t minus 2 bracket square. Divide the 3.5 to the other side, so I got 4 equals t minus 2. Square root them. Okay, put a plus minus by the way. And move it around, so you got 2 plus minus 2. They say that the time must be greater than 2, so then I will take time to be 2 plus 2 instead of 2 minus 2. The kinetic energy, E, of a moving object is directly proportional to the speed. So I can just say this is A, E equals to K multiplied by V square, V for velocity. Or you want to write speed also can. Actually they say V lah, so I just use V. The kinetic energy of an object is reduced by 75%, meaning to say that it becomes 25%. So there is another condition that the energy is 0.25, like this. Calculate the percentage reduction in the speed. Okay, so we are going to compare the speed for these two occasions. Alright, so let's do the first one. I'll divide the K around, and then I will root them. So then I got square root of E over K. You can put plus minus if you want to. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. 0.25, I think I'll rather to put it as E over 4. Okay, and then the K also divide over there, so I got E over 4K. Root them, so I got square root of E over 4K. Now, they look alike. You see the previous and the second, they do look alike for the velocity. They are different, by the way. But to make it more obvious, you see that there's a square root of 4 on the denominator. Okay, I see there's only a 4 here, but everything is actually square rooted. Okay, the thing is that if you can actually solve the square root for the 4, you can just solve it like this. Okay, of course, mind that you need to leave everything else in the square root. Alright, I rather to actually then write it down like this. E over K still in the square root. The 2 on the denominator comes out, so I get this 1 over 2. Okay, so here I can see clearly the comparison. The difference is that there are 1 over 2 in front of the velocity this time, meaning to say that the velocity actually dropped by 50%. Okay, they say the reduction is 50%. No need to put negative, okay, because they already claim that it's a reduction. Okay, they understand that it's actually a reduction. There is no need to put a negative sign. Next. Okay, now when you are solving indices, okay, I recommend that you use calculator for the numerical. Meaning to say that you take the 64, and then you power it by 2/3. Okay? And then the x, take the 6 multiplied by 2/3. Y, power of 3 multiplied by 2/3. Okay, the power claims everyone here. Okay, again, I take 64 power of 2/3 using calculator. You'll get 16. And then the x, you'll get 4. And then the y, you get 2. Next, question 18. A cruise ship is average fuel consumption of this per liter. Okay, so the distance covered. Okay. For every 1 liter of fuel. Wow, that's actually a very huge consumption of fuel just to move that amount of distance. That's a very tiny distance. I don't know whether it's true or not, but yeah. Anyway, I want it to be 1 kilometer first. Okay, let's convert this into 1 kilometer. Okay, this is actually ratio, so you actually just need to multiply by the same number to change them together. Alright. How do you get the 0.000925 into 1? You might actually think. And the answer is very simple. What you need to do is just to divide by your own number. Right. If you have a number divide by itself, you'll get a 1. So I'll divide by that. And of course, naturally, the liter also do the same. Divide by that number. I'll use calculator. 1 divided by this, I'll get, well, this is actually 1081.08 liter of fuel. Okay, so the question asking you to find out the amount of consumption of liters per kilometer. Per kilometer meaning to say for every 1 kilometer, and the consumption is that. Alright, that's a huge amount of consumption, I guess. Another cruise ship has a length of 330 meters. The capacity is this. The model of the ship is that. Find the length of the model. Okay, 1 cm and 60 cm. The cruise ship is 330 meter, or that is 33,000 centimeter. Okay, you times by 100, that is. So I just need to make this into 33,000 centimeter. Okay, what do you do? Times it by 33,000 over 60. Okay, yeah, because you take 60 divided by 60, you get 1, and then 1 multiplied by 33,000. That's how you get the number. Okay, of course you do the same thing for the other side. Okay, use calculator here. I'll get 550 centimeter. Okay, so then the length of the model, the question, oopsie, what was this? Yeah, the question asks you to put it in meter, so then I get 5.5 meter. Find the capacity of the fuel tanks in the model, volume of the fuel. Okay, the model and also the real one. The capacity of the fuel tank is actually this amount. Okay, that is the real amount. So I'll just put this as 1.228 multiplied by 10 power of 6. Okay, and of course this is actually equals to the length ratio of 1 over 60, but you power it by 3. Okay, because remember that if you want to equate the length ratio and the volume ratio, you need to take power of 3 for your length ratio. Okay, and only then they are actually equal. Yeah, anyway, I got this equals this. Well, 60 power of 3 is quite huge. Okay, cross multiply, you will get, just use calculator, 5.69 liter. Okay, that's it for the model. And then question 19. In the triangle, AC is 15.6 and so on and so forth. Find the area of the triangle. You have 82, you have 56, then the rest is 180 minus the rest of them. You get 42. If you want to find the area of the triangle, you use the half AB sine C. But I need two different sides. So now I'm interested in finding the length of AB or BC. Okay, I'll use the length of BC. Sine rule. BC over sine of 82 equals 15.6 over sine of 56 degree. Okay, cross multiply and everything, you'll get BC as 18.633. Yeah, and therefore you can find the area, half AB sine C. You'll get 97.3, and this is corrected to 3SF. Right. Next, question 20. Written as a product of its prime factors. Okay, write down this amount as a product of its prime factors. Okay, so you should know about this method. 144, then you divide by 2, then divide by 2, divide by 2 again, divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 3. So it's 2 power of 4 multiplied by 3 power of 2. The HCF and LCM are given, both numbers are greater than 20. Okay, so the HCF is 12, which is 2 square multiplied 3. The LCM is 24 multiplied by 3 square. There are two numbers, X and Y. And then you need to find out. Both numbers are greater than 20. Okay, so one of them must contain 2 square, the other one must contain 2 power of 4. And then I think I'll put the 3 square here, and then the 3 over there. Okay, yeah, you just need to mix and match and make sure that each of the number are actually greater than 20. Okay, you can check here, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 is 4 times 9, 36. Then the next one is 16 times 3, which is 48. Okay, those are the numbers. B. Written as a product of prime factors, the number of this is a perfect cube, where P and Q are prime numbers. Find the value of P and the value of Q. Okay, so 784, I just put down as this. Divide by P over Q is the same thing as multiply by Q over P. You know that, you can just like make division into multiplication. Now the claim is that they are actually a perfect cube. Okay, a perfect cube means that the powers must be 3 or multiples of 3, or they do not exist. Okay, either one of them. Now in that case, right, I would suggest that q is actually 7. So then you got 7 square multiplied by 7, you got 7 cube. And then for the p, I just need the p to be a 2 units. So then 2 power of 4 divided by 2, you get 2 power of 3. Yeah, and that's the answer. Next, question 21. Grouping factorization. So I'll factorize maybe this and this together. They have 3x, factorize them. You got 2x plus by y. And then the next is negative. You have 2x plus y. So I have 2x plus y and 3x minus 1. Using factorization, solve this. Well, cross factorization. Okay, so it's 4x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Hence the answer is x equals negative 3/4 and 3 over 2. Okay, in garden center A bag of soil is 36, a throw is 40. Okay, you see that the metrics actually are given to be the price. Okay, so for the vertical is A and B. This is actually the garden center. And then for the horizontal S, T, and P, these are, well, the items. Okay, soil, throw, and pot. Tom buys this amount, Lim buys that amount. Represent the matrix in 2 times 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. I think I just need to put it like this: 5, 4, 2, and then 6, 3, y. Okay, understand that in horizontal, this is Tom purchase and Lim's purchase. In the vertical, this is actually the soil, the throw, and the pot. Okay. Next, find in terms of x and y, m multiplied by n. So I'm going to multiply the matrix together. This is 2 rows and 3 column. This is 3 rows and 2 column. So you're gonna get 2 rows and 2 column as the resultant of the matrix. Okay, let's get the top left corner. Okay, to get the top left corner, you take the first row and the first column, and then you multiply them together. Okay, since all of these are numbers, you can use calculator. You get 476. Okay, the next top right corner, the first row, second column. Okay, I'll get 5 times x plus by 4 times 39 plus by 2 times 65. You'll get 286. Next, second row and first column. Yeah, all of these are number except the last one. There will be 38y. Okay, plus by, wait a minute, this is 68. Oh my god, that was actually close. Yeah, 68. Okay, 68y plus by the rest of them, 336. And then the rest is second row and second column. I'll have 6x plus by 65y plus by 39 times 3, 117. Okay, and that's the matrix P. State what the first element of matrix P represent. The first element is the 476. Okay, what is this actually telling us? Okay, now let's take a look at how do we get the number of 476. Okay, you obtain it by multiplying 542 and 36, 40, 68. Now, taking a look at it, right, 542 is actually the Tom's purchase. And then the 36, 40, and 68 are actually the pricing for the garden A. Alright, meaning to say that this is actually the amount of money spent by Tom in the garden A. Okay, the amount of money spent by Tom in the garden A. Next, state the total cost of Tom's purchase would be the same. The total cost of Tom's purchase would be the same in the both center. Okay, so Tom actually purchased it twice lah, here and there. Okay, the total amount spent 476 for the garden A equals to the amount spent in the garden B. Okay, again, this is a same concept lah. Okay, the multiplication result in those. Okay, I got the X to be $38. $38, is it? What is X actually? 38 amount. Okay, Lim will save $3 by buying the purchases in the garden center B. Okay, so again we are going to take these numbers. Okay, let me just copy down this thing so it will be faster. Okay, now they are not exactly equal, okay, but I will put an equal sign first. Okay, the claim is that Lim will save $3 if she actually spend the purchase in garden center B, so that the center B is actually cheaper. Okay, the garden center B is the one on the right side. Hence, under that logic, okay, I just need to make sure that to make them equal, I need to plus this by another $3. Okay, because the garden center B is actually cheaper by $3. You add them by $3 and then you'll get the correct equation. Okay, and then you just need to solve for X and Y. Oh wait, I have the X already lah, $38, 38 amount. Okay, yeah, you solve them, all of it, you'll get Y equals to 4. Okay. Next, question 23. Okay, there is a graph here, but I don't really have anything here, it's blank. Alright, but I already drawn it on another place. It looks like this. Okay, that's a terrible picture. Still terrible, but slightly better, I guess. Okay, no, it's still terrible. Okay, this is much better. This one is 3. This one is 1. This one is around 1.6, I guess. Okay, yeah, the picture will be like this. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, by drawing a tangent, find the gradient at 2,1. Alright, so I'll use a red color for the answer here. Now what you need to do is locate the point of 2,1 and then draw a straight line, okay, such that the line is actually tangent to the curve. Okay, make it as accurate as possible. Okay, from this ruler, this triangle that you actually draw, you have to make some kind of a right angle triangle out of it. Okay, you need to find what is the rise, you need to find what is the run, like how far away it is, then you divide them. Rise over run is the gradient. Okay, and that's how you get the gradient at 2,1 by drawing a straight line. Okay, the equation of this can be solved by drawing a suitable straight line on the graph. Okay, x cubed plus by x squared minus 6x equals 0 can be solved by looking at the graph and adding a new picture. Now, the graph that is given is actually this. Let me copy it down first. Okay, now I think this is actually quite a common question. What you need to do is to make sure that you actually obtain exactly the same graph like what is actually shaded, okay, the one that highlighted from the equation that you actually have, okay, in the B part 1. If I simplify a little bit, this is half x cubed plus by half x squared minus 4x plus by 3. Okay, so from this equation here, what I'm gonna do is I'll divide everything by 2. That's the first thing I do. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So then I got the half x cubed and the half x squared, just like what they are actually having here. Okay, next thing, I need a negative for x. So I will minus by x on both sides. Okay, and finally, I need a plus by 3. Okay, then it is revealed that the line that the question asks you to draw is actually the line of y equals negative x plus by 3. Okay, you don't really need to find, you don't really need to draw this line. The question asks you just to find the equation. Okay, there is no need. Okay, actually never mind. The part 2 is actually asking it. Draw this straight line and then solve the equation. Alright, so you just need to go back here and then you draw the line. Negative x plus by 3. Okay, you can draw this properly using a ruler in the exam. Okay, you'll get something like this, I guess. You'll get 3 points of intersection. Okay, both of them has a common point of 3. Okay, I don't really draw this in the accurate form, so yeah. Anyway, you'll get this first answer. Let's just say x equals a. Okay, whatever you got. And then over here, x equals 0. That's the second answer. And over there, okay, maybe x equals to 2 or something. Okay, close to 2 lah. So maybe it's x equals 2. Yeah, so you'll have 3 answers like that. Okay, this is all based on the picture. Alright, next is question 24. Right, next is question 24. I think it's the last question. The diagram shows the speed time graph for cyclist A and B traveling along the same road in the same direction. Accelerates for 20 seconds and then travels for a constant speed of 10 meters per second for A. Alright, so the travel of B is constant 8. Calculate the acceleration of A. So you have two coordinates here, 0,5 and 20,10. You actually can find the gradient by taking 10 minus 5 divided by 20 minus 0. You got 5 over 20, or that is 1 over 4. Okay. The area beneath each speed time graph represents the distance traveled. Okay, yes. I think you all should know about that already. Find the expression in terms of t, the distance traveled by particle B in the t seconds. Now particle B is just the simple straight line over here. So to find out the distance traveled here is just simply finding the area under the graph 8 multiplied by t. It's a rectangle after all. Yeah, I think should be no issue here. Well, the last one here. When the time is 0, A is 90 meters behind B. When the time is t, the A actually passes B. Okay, interesting here. Very interesting. Now, let's see. Okay, let's not care too much about the situation that you are 90 meters behind. Okay, let's instead focus on the fact that we are looking for the distance traveled by the particle A. Okay, so for particle A, the distance traveled is, first, there is some kind of a trapezium, right? Over here, this is the trapezium. You take sum of the parallel lines, 5 plus 10, multiply by the height, divide by 2. You get 150. Okay, and then next is the rectangle. Okay, the rectangle, the width is actually here, t minus 20. Alright, t minus 20. The height of the rectangle is 10 units. So the second distance, 10 multiplied by t minus 20. So then the total distance traveled is 10t minus by 50. Okay, if you sum together the d1 and d2, you'll get this. Okay, so this is the distance traveled according to the picture. Okay, but I can be sure that the A actually happened to travel much further, because you see that A is actually 90 meters behind B, right, to begin with, right? Meaning to say that if you want to make them, you can actually equate the two distance together. Okay, you can take the 8 of t, okay, and then the 10t minus 50. You can actually add them together, but in the situation that you need to put another extra 90 units. Okay, because you see that by right at this moment, right, the particle A actually has traveled an extra just now 90 meter. Okay, therefore you need to make sure that it balance by putting another 90 here on the left hand side. Okay, so if you want to make them balance, you need to put another 90. Alright, so from here I just need to solve for the t. And therefore the answer is 70. Okay, and that's it for the last question of the paper 1. Okay, I think it's quite challenging. Okay, in the last few years, the last 10 years, I think this is the most challenging kind of paper that in the O-level I've seen before. Okay, subjective, of course, this is subjective. Alright, I mean overall, I think it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, I will posting the paper 2 soon, hopefully by this week. Okay, and yeah, see you again on the next video. Bye bye.